This is Gary Maurer from Green Pro Solutions, and today we're looking at the latest version of our getting to be pretty well-known Sprinter Arborist. For those of you who do tree work, a brief overview of what we have here. We have a 35 gallon a minute pump connected to a 22 horsepower Honda engine. We have 3 tanks. Behind me we have a 400 gallon tank, and then on either side of me we have 56 gallon tanks, a total of 512 gallons in this particular unit. We have a number of special amenities on the outside, strobe lights, vent fans, a lot of different amenities that really make the operator more comfortable. It just creates a better environment, more efficient, more productive, and those are key values that we're committed to here at Green Pro Solutions. Now I'd like to take a more detailed look at each of the individual items as we take a tour of this new Sprinter van. So one of the first things we do when we start working with one of these units is to figure out how to get liquid inside of it, and we have a fill system that actually starts on the outside of the van, right behind the rear wheel on the curb side. There's a 2-inch valve, and you will hook your fill hose to that 2-inch valve and turn it on. That water travels up through the inside of the van through this special anti-siphoning fitting to keep the public water protection in place for you, and then it travels back down, travels around the outside, comes through another valve down here, and this is a valve that prohibits air from getting into the system, and then it flows into the manifold. At the manifold, it's actually distributed to the 3 tanks in the truck through the suction lines. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. Like any other truck, this truck has a 3-part manifold system. There's a suction manifold, a return manifold, and on the opposite side of the truck is the high pressure manifold. First of all, on the suction and return manifold, as I mentioned earlier, the fill system actually works through the suction manifold. The water flows into the back of the suction manifold. You open whichever valve you want to fill, whichever tank, 556, 400, whichever. You open that valve and the liquid flows right into that tank. You can fill all 3 tanks at the same time if you choose to. This is also where certain safety systems work. We have safety systems for the pump and safety systems for the high pressure manifold. All of that feeds back into this manifold and dumps those relief valves and so forth back into here. In addition to the 3 valves that go to the tanks, we also have a valve that goes to the eductor. I'll be talking about that here briefly in a moment, and some other fittings that feed other parts of the truck, which we'll get to momentarily. In my introduction to this Arborist Sprinter, we talked about the fact that there's 2 56-gallon tanks in this unit. Both of them can mix products, and both of them can make applications. However, we also have an upfitted 56-gallon tank in this particular unit that has an eduction system, specifically to put in granulars or really non-soluble products that are hard to get into solution. That would be this tank that's on my right, on your left. The first thing we do when we get set up to use the eduction system is turn off this valve. This is the valve that needs to be open when you're using it as a regular tank, but when we're using it as an eductor, we need to close this suction valve. Then I need to choose which tank I want to pull liquid from. Since I'm using this tank as an eduction tank, I could pull water either from this 56-gallon tank or the 400-gallon tank to my rear. So I would put these valves in the location that I need to have a regular operation of suction and return. Like that. So now we're pulling water and returning water to the 400-gallon tank. Then on this side, I'm going to have my regulator on, and I'm going to put the pressure up to about 500 psi on my regulator. And at that point, once I see the reading here, I'm actually going to open the eductor valve. That's actually putting high pressure through the eduction system. And we're going to go back to the tank now and see what happens there. You're actually going to put your product in this special fitting that we put on top of this tank. It's a funnel that goes right down into the eductor in the bottom of the tank. And you want to pour it slowly so that it doesn't clog. If it does clog, we have a special ramrod right here that you can use to get the product through if it were to jam. If you see it not flowing, you want to stop immediately and make sure you clear that before you continue. Now, at this point in time, the high pressure is on, the eductor valve is open on the high pressure manifold, and we have liquid flowing through this high pressure line through the eductor fitting on the bottom of the tank. At this point, and this is before I start putting any product in, I want to open this valve. And now the eductor system is operating. At this point in time, I can put whatever products, that can be liquids, granulars, powders, whatever you want, into the eductor system, and the high pressure and velocity of that liquid going through the bottom of this is going to take whatever's in this tank, suck it out, and then return it to whatever tank that you want to put it into. That's the eductor system. I'd now like to talk about moving water between the tanks once the water is in the system. We have a special transfer pump. It's electric. It pumps 45 gallons per minute, and it's specifically tied to the 400-gallon tank. So if I want to move liquid into either of these two 56-gallon tanks, I can virtually fill either one of these in about a minute. Extraordinarily fast and efficient. That transfer pump actually pumps water through the same system that the fill system uses. So it pumps it into the suction manifold, and then I can open whichever valve I need to move it into either one of these two tanks. Another option we have is to use the transfer pump to move liquid into the hand wash tank. There's a special valve right behind me that you can change depending upon whether you want the water to go into the hand wash tank or you want it to go into the fill system. So we also have a valve on the hand wash tank, and that's so that we can disconnect this. And now I can take this to the back of the truck, and I can use this in a multitude of ways. I can use it, there's some water in there, we can use it to fill backpacks, we can use it to wash equipment, we could use it to rinse down a spill, I can use it for a multitude of reasons. And actually, at this point, if there's enough liquid in the 400-gallon tank, it really works by gravity, but it's a lot faster with a transfer pump. Now the hand wash tank also has a special feature, and that is, well, I just gave it away. It is a hand wash tank. We actually built a sink right here. We put an oversized lid in here, and there's a little spigot right above it. I can turn this valve and I can wash my hands, clean equipment, do whatever I need to do, and it's all caught right in this 56-gallon tank. So we're not spilling anything outside of the truck, we're keeping everything contained. So that's the transfer system and the hand wash tank. Next, we're going to talk about the electrical system, and in this particular unit, that starts with the engine. This Honda engine has a very special upgrade in that it produces all of the electricity that this truck will use. It has a 10-amp charging system, and that 10-amp charging system is controlled by this regulator that's mounted on the side of the truck wall. And from there it goes into this Group 27 or Group 31 marine battery deep cycle, so that we can store a lot of energy in here so that you don't have to run the engine all of the time to operate all of the features. Now, what are the features? well. In addition to what you see here, we have special lighting. We have a strobes both on the front and the back that are 360 degrees, so you can see this truck from wherever it is. We have a thermostatically controlled fan in the front segment that gets all the exhausts all the chemical smells and so forth out of the truck to keep your driver comfortable in the front driver compartment of the truck. And that also, by the way, closes when it rains. So it's a really nice feature, and it takes care of itself. Everything goes into this special electrical panel right here. And this is wired differently than almost every other 12-volt system that's out there. Not like trucks or cars. This is more like your house or commercial building, in that all of the ground service actually comes back to this panel, and from this panel back to the battery. So it's all a closed loop system. Makes it much, much easier if you're trying to diagnose some kind of electrical problem. But it doesn't stop there. Our engineering department came up with an extraordinarily simple way of seeing what's working and what's not. If something happens, this would pop out, and you can see that it was out, and you just push it right back in. They all have the size of the amperage of the circuit on there, so it's extraordinarily easy to see. And there are lights for each of these little idiot lights, so you know if you left something on. Same is true of the strobe lights. Now, in order to kind of protect this system, we also included a timer switch. This is an option that we put in. You can use it or not use it. It can be programmed to make the electricity active in the spray compartment here at a certain time in the morning, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, whatever, and it can shut everything off at night. So if the technician accidentally left something on when they left, didn't realize it, at a certain predetermined time, this timer would just shut everything off. So you're not going to come back Monday morning and find the battery dead. Perhaps the most useful part of this, and this is something we've just started to incorporate, is this energy usage meter. It tracks voltage, it tracks current, power usage, energy, and this is extraordinarily helpful as a diagnostic tool. So if you're having issues with some electrical element on the truck here, and you were to call our toll-free number, the person at the other end of that phone call will ask you a series of questions, turn this on, turn that off, and so forth. And based upon what this panel tells us, there's an excellent chance we can diagnose electrical problems from the field, which takes a huge load off of your support mechanism at your shop. But we can do it from here at our shop, diagnose problems that you're having in your truck wherever it is. So we think this is going to be extraordinarily valuable to you as a user and as far as maintaining the equipment. So that pretty much covers all the electrical features of this Sprinter for Arborists. I'd like to talk a little bit more about this pump and motor combination. As I said in the introduction, this is a 35 gallon a minute pump, 700 psi, and you should be able to hit 70-foot trees with this unit. It has a special shroud over it, as you can see. It doesn't come this way. Again, our engineering department came up with a way of trying to keep things cool in here. So we do have an exhaust right here that goes out through the side of the truck, and this exhausts all of the fumes from the combustion engine out the side of the truck. We've put a special catch on the door so the door can't come back beside the truck when that engine is running and putting exhaust out there. That heat wouldn't be good for the paint. But we also wanted to manage the heat inside. So there's a certain amount of heat generated by the engine apart from its exhaust, and we have two industrial 12-volt fans behind this shroud that actually takes all of the heat that's pulled in across the engine and the pump, pulls them into these fans, and then pushes it out underneath this shroud. So we're actually pushing the heat out of the truck. Tremendous difference in the operating temperature in here. And again, we still have the fan in the front that helps exhaust, or it actually can bring in outdoor air into the van as well. A lot of different ways we're trying to make this as user-friendly as we possibly can, and this is certainly one of them. The 22 horsepower Honda engine is fed by this 12-gallon gas tank. We wanted something large enough that you didn't have to stop every day to fill it up. So this has a valve on the bottom so you can isolate it if there's any issue. It's very easy to do. The actual engine actually can pull the gas from here, so it doesn't require a separate pump to feed the gas in. A very efficient system. There are a lot of things that are creating a stir in the industry about this Sprinter, its capacity, its capability, and what we consider a 21st century IPM rig. Part of that is how to do things more efficiently, both time savings and cost savings, and that includes this system right here that's called the Inject System. And it's a special soil injector. You can put a 1-gallon tank on the top of it, and we have whole training programs just on it, how it works, how to make money with it. You can actually make almost as much money with this a day as you can make with this entire outfit. We have with it a 4-gallon backpack that's also a backpack. So you can use it for all your trunk sprays and so forth, and whatever you want to do that way. But it has a special umbilical cord then that can hook this into the Inject. So if you're a distance away and can't get hoses that far and you need more capacity, this will take you a long way. You can do an awful lot of work with this 4-gallon backpack with the concentrated formulations typically used with the Inject System. And then you have interchangeable tanks. So I could have imidacloprid in one, our tree and shrub fertilizer in another. You could have Merit in one, Safari in another, and you can just pop them out and pop a different one in. So the fact that you can change what you're doing, the type of application so quickly is one of the things that makes this so profitable and efficient, and what makes the whole unit come together as an integrated pest management system that's more than just spraying things. So we're very excited about what you can do with this and all the benefits. We have a lot of storage in here, as you can see. And we're going to move around to the front to see even more storage and other features that you don't want to miss. We've moved around to the side now, curbside, where we actually get all the work done. Here's your hose reel, and as you can see, it's a special custom hose reel. It's very narrow profile, so there's lots of room to get in and out of the Sprinter, get the stuff that's stored in there. And it has some very special features to it. One is the fact that, let me just reach around here. It has a special pin lock system on it where I can pull the pins out, and then this roller assembly rolls out, so when I pull the hose out, I'm not going to be taking the paint off of the side of or cutting the hose, either one. Great feature, this special feature here. Another thing is our engineering department came up with this great push button rewind button, and you can use it in either hand. It's ambidextrous, so if you're pulling the hose in from this way, you can stand over here. If you're coming in this way, you can stand whichever way. This works whichever way, and it has a wonderful magnet on it, so you can store it wherever you like. Now I'm going to jump up inside the van. We'll talk a little bit about what's inside. First of all, this is a great place to show you the special bullet lining that we put inside the van, and it covers every surface, ceilings, floors, walls, and it's the latest greatest in really armor-proofing your unit so that it lasts a long time. Part of that is this special vapor-proof barrier. We take the barrier that comes with the unit, and then we make sure we close all the holes and little places where fumes can seep into the driver compartment. And after we've sealed all those places, then we cover that with a bullet also. So we're really trying to keep the driver compartment the best possible place to drive as we can. Part of that too is this vent that we talked about earlier. Has a special remote control. It's also thermostatically controlled, so it can come on by itself. The cap on the top will open. If it rains, the cap will close. It also will exhaust, or it will pull air in. A lot of features, very simple to use. And it does some of the things all by itself. You also see more storage in here. We've got this really sturdy shelf that you can put 5-gallon buckets on. We have a special utility port here that has 3 places to plug 12-volt tools into, or a refrigerator if you wanted to put a refrigerator in here to carry biologicals. There's also a lot of storage for granular product, and we can create special spaces for that. As you can see, I have a 50-pound spreader in here if you're doing any soil conditioning. So there's just a lot of room in this sprinter to carry pretty much anything that you want to carry, anything that you need to do your business. And here again, that's part of the 21st century IPM approach that we're taking, so that you can carry whatever you need to provide any kind of service that you need to provide. I want to talk a little bit about the features that are on the outside of the truck that are pretty important as well. We did talk about the fill system. Here's that 2-inch connection that you use to fill the truck. Next to that, we have this valve. This is actually a dump valve. If you wanted to drain the tanks on the truck, this is the valve you would use to do that, in concert with the filter. Now, we kept the filter on the outside of the truck, so when you need to clean the filter, everything is outside of the truck. You're not making a mess inside. And when you use these two things together, open this valve and open the filter, you can actually drain the tanks of the truck. Above us, we have the exhaust. This is where the exhaust for the 22 horsepower Honda comes out. And as I said, this does get hot right here, but not around it. You just want to stay a little bit away from that when the engine's running. But we put a special stop on the door. The door can't go back any farther than this, and that's so that we don't do any damage to the door with the exhaust from this muffler. So that pretty much wraps up everything on the outside. You can certainly see strobes and various things on the top, but this is your unit. This is the direction that the plant healthcare industry is going, and this package pulls everything together in one neat, extraordinarily efficient, profitable vehicle. Thank you for joining us today.